Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you guys what players I would like to see in the Liverpool Strongest 11 for next season, along with some other signings. With Klopp going, we need to bring some new energy, and I think I know how. Let's start off with the goalkeeper. No surprises here, it's the best keeper in the world, Alisson Becker. There is absolutely no way that we should get rid of him unless he forces a move. And I don't see that happening. The backup for him, keep Kelleher, obviously, unless someone bids maybe 25 million, then we could possibly think about selling him. At right back, again, no wildcard, Trent. The Scouser in our team stays at right back. With Bradley also there, that's a strong position with lots of creativity from that right hand side. Now, at right centre-back, lots of people have been calling for a right centre-back to be brought in, or saying that Konate is good enough and we should stick with him. I, however, am going with Van Dijk on the right. I don't think there's anyone better to cover the attacking right-backs that we could possibly have than Verge. He's still the best centre-back in the world, and his pace and strength will be important covering for those full-backs. Now, with Van Dijk not on the left, who's replacing him there? Alessandro Bastoni. I have always rated him extremely highly, and I think that him and Van Dijk would be an absolutely monstrous centre-back partnership. He is everything that you want in a modern centre-back. Tall, strong, good on the ball, and has great positioning. Left-footed to add the cherry on top as well. With Matip likely leaving at the end of the season on a free, I would be okay with Gomez, Konate and Kwanzaa as backups, but maybe if we got a bid of like 40-50 million, we should debate selling Konate. And if we don't sell Konate, I'd like to see us move Gomez on then for at least 25 million. I know he's been better this season, but selling him will help bring in some extra funds while keeping a backup for each position. Left back, Robbo. Still performing at a good, consistent level, so I don't see why anyone would want to replace him. He's not slowing down at all, so he stays in the team. However, I haven't ignored his age completely because I'd like to sign a younger backup in Ryan Ait-Nouri. We could probably get him for a similar price of what we would sell Gomez for, and I just think he's got a really high ceiling while already being a solid player. Now, with me signing a backup left back, you know what that means. The Greek Scouser is probably going to have to go. Now, I love him. Everyone loves him. He's not exactly the youngest of players himself. He's not old, but Ait-Nouri has a high ceiling, and I can see him being our starting left back in 2 or 3 years' time. So, for that, we sell Tsimikas for at least 15. Now, the midfield 3. I'm going to change the shape of this slightly because there are no world-class number 6s in the world that cost less than 80 million to buy. So instead, just have 2 defensively solid world-class number 8s. The first of which being Sandro Tonali, which we have to thank Newcastle for getting a whole bunch of injuries and derailing their season. They aren't going to finish in the Champions League or Europa League places, in my opinion, and this means that they'll need to sell at least one player to not breach FFP, because in their plans you can tell that they were expecting consistent Champions League football, which they don't have. So Tonali, to us for 50 million, would likely be enough to get the deal done and to put Newcastle's finances back on track. On the other side, I'd like to bring in a proven, world-class, experienced but not old player in Joshua Kimmich. I think he's been in the top 5 midfielders in the world ever since he's moved into midfield. Some people may be thinking, but you said you're not playing a 6. And I'm not. Kimmich is not a 6. He plays alongside Goretzka and not behind him. You could say that Bayern play 2 defensive mids, but I don't think that really represents how they play. He creates more chances than you'd think, 68 chances created in the league for him this season so far. So having those two in there, great at passing the ball, good at moving it around, and defensively extremely solid, hard to play through. So having those two would free up the creativity for two players that I think have both suffered from having to play deeper as their average position than they would in this team, McAllister and Szoboszlai. You can choose either of them, but I just feel that with more freedom, Szoboszlai would be better as a number 10. There's great options for 10s in our team. Those two, on top of Jones and Elliott, is great. Endo, Bajcetic, Gravenberch, and whatever youngsters we have covering the 8s is also solid depth. Now, onto the right side of our attack. This is a difficult one. You've no doubt noticed the lack of sales so far. It's just been 2, maybe 3 defenders, and one of those 3 can't happen if one of the other ones happens. We can't sell Konate if Gomez goes, and we can't sell Gomez if Konate goes, because that would leave the depth out of whack. Now this is the part where I think it's inevitable and it might just be the right time to do it. Selling Mo Salah to a Saudi team. We rejected 2 offers last summer, one of which being over 200 million, so I feel like it's not outrageous to say that we get over 100 for him. I'm going to guess it'll be around 120. So who am I replacing Salah with? Pedro Neto. And that entirely depends on if a specialist can guarantee that his hamstring is not going to be an issue anymore for him. Because if not, I can see him thriving in Merseyside. But if his injury is going to be a problem, then a more boring option that's just trying to minimise the loss in goals could be Bowen. Not the nicest to look at on the ball, but he makes runs and scores goals. Alongside either of these, I would also like us to have a genuine backup on the right hand side, which we haven't had for quite a while. And I'm going to go with Matthias Sule. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm not sure. You might not know who he is, but I'm telling you that he will be a world-class forward in a few years' time. He has just turned 21 and somehow has 10 goals and 3 assists playing for Frosinone. And if you've watched any of Serie A, you know how awful they are as a team. So at that age, doing that is quite an achievement. To have him as a backup and to maybe take over that slot in future would be a great asset to have. On the left, I'm going to say something a little controversial. I'm going to go with Nunes. Diaz is the better player, but Nunes is the more effective player. And in a game where they have hardly a sniff at goal, Nunes helps the team more. Diaz, he has been improving lately, but still, per 90, Nunes nearly doubles Diaz's output, and I can't look past that. In my ideal world, we sell Diaz for bare minimum 70 million, and have Gakpo as the other left-sided option. So that leaves one man who is going to be my first choice leading the line, and that is Diogo Jota. I just think that he is a killer. Natural instinct for being in the right place, and is by far our most ruthless player in front of goal. There is one main issue with Jota, and that's the fact that he often struggles to play a full season injury-free. With that in mind, I'd like us to sign a striker. Not a player who could play on the left as well like Gakpo, or not a player that could play on the right if needed, but a genuine striker whose best attribute is putting the ball in the back of the net. If Slot is going to be our next manager, he can bring Santiago Gimenez with him. A true goal-scoring striker that isn't allergic to build-up play and work off the ball. And once again, a young player that's just turned 22 and has a really high ceiling. This team I feel like is a good blend of youth and experience, with some of the experienced players being under the age of 30, and I feel like we have good squad depth with that team as well. Let me know if you disagree with any of the players that I'd like us to sign in the comments below, And as always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.